Okay, so once again, class, this afternoon we'll be talking on computer antivirus and prevention. So this topic, class, is still related to what we have known from the last quarter, which is all about malicious software. So this time we'll be talking, class, on how do we prevent our computers and laptops from this malicious software that we have over the internet and which can be transmitted through different media. So again, this topic class talks on the different antivirus available on the market and its generation, and as well as class, how do we prevent our computers from this malicious software around. Okay, so here are our learning objectives. So firstly, you should be able, class, to describe the processes involved in virus removal. So removing a virus, class, is not just very plain method. So it requires, class, a procedure. So of course, class, you cannot just remove a virus or a malicious software without understanding what type of malicious software is present in your computer. And by identifying, class, what type of malicious software is present on your computer, you can now apply some tools which can be used to remove this malicious software. And from there, you can remove your viruses. Then we have also, class, generations of antivirus programs. So as what we have known, class, no, diba, computers take 5 generations. But with antivirus, class, we only have 4 generations, class, of antivirus. So you will know, class, what are the characteristics of first generation antivirus, second, third, and fourth generation of antiviruses that we have on the market. Then third is that you should be able to describe some advanced techniques in virus detection. So there are some advanced techniques, class, employed just to identify the virus or just to remove a virus present in your computer system. And then finally, you should be able, class, to enumerate the ways to prevent infection by malicious software. So do you have questions, class, or clarifications about our learning objectives for this afternoon? Class, are there questions so far or clarifications about what we're going to discuss this afternoon? Okay, so if there's none, maybe we can start. So, have you ever had, class, an experience where your computer has been infected with malicious software or a virus? Anybody, class? Okay, usually ang USB na virusan. Like for example, class, no, all our files will be hidden and some files, class, will be removed, or in some cases, class, your files can no longer be opened. So that's one instance of virus infection in your computer, in your flash drive. So with that instance, can you give me, class, some ways to prevent your computers from being infected with this malicious software? What are some ways, class, which you could identify to help your computer not be not infected with a virus? Can you identify, class, some ways to prevent your computer from infected with viruses? Christian, can you give me some ways, or can you give me one way to prevent your computer from virus infection? Okay, so just imagine, class, if you have a laptop, how will you prevent your laptop from being infected with a computer virus? What will you do so that your computer, class, your laptop cannot be infected with a virus? One is that you should install antivirus software. What else? After installing, are you not going to update the antivirus that you have installed? Class, are you not going to update your antivirus? Okay, so basically class, if you have installed an antivirus software in your computer or on your laptop, you should update class your antivirus software regularly. So this is one way class to keep your virus definitions updated so that it will be able to identify the latest type of virus. Because if you don't update class your antivirus, it could be that your computer is now infected with a virus, but since you have then updated your antivirus, then your antivirus software cannot identify the virus present in your laptop or desktop. So you should update class your antivirus software regularly. Okay? So here are class the different methods for virus removal. So firstly is that we have here, it involves class detection, identification, and removal. So how do we identify class, or how do we detect viruses? Okay, so in the first method class, in the first step for virus removal, before you can remove a virus from your computer, what you can do is that you should use class an antivirus software which will identify or which will detect the presence of a virus in your computer system, because of course you cannot directly remove these viruses unless your system class has detected the presence of virus in your PC. So that's the first step. There should be virus detection. And then once the virus class is already detected in your system, the next thing to do is to identify. So again class, the first step, you should be able to, or your system class should be able to detect the presence of the virus. Then after detecting, it should be able to identify what type of malicious software is present in your computer system. That's the identification phase. And then after it has identified class the type of malicious software or the type of virus present in your computer system, that's the time that the virus can now be removed. So why do we have to go through to this process of detection, identification, and removal? Why can't we just directly remove viruses from our PC? Anybody? Class, why do you think that we need to go through this process of detection, identification, and removal process? Why can't just we directly remove the virus? Anybody class? Any idea? Let me hear from Dorothy. Dorothy, why do you think there is a need to go through this systematic process of detection, identification, and removal of a virus from our computer system? Why can't we just directly remove the virus in our computer? Okay, from Marian, she said that kay naay certain way sir ang pag-remove sa usa ka specific virus. Okay, so that's one significance of performing a step-by-step procedure, because not all viruses class can be removed instantly. Some viruses are harder to detect and harder to remove. Thus, by identifying what type of virus has infected your computer, it can apply specific ways for this type of virus. And then of course, without detection, you can't remove anything. Okay, if the virus class is not detected in your PC, then what are you trying to remove from your computer? Okay, so that should be the first step. You should be able to detect that the presence of the virus. Then after detecting class its presence from your PC, you should be able to identify to apply a method or specific method for this type of virus to be removed from your system. And then finally, once it has identified the type of virus residing in your computer, that's the time now that you can now remove this virus. So that's the importance class of the virus removal process. It again involves the process of detection, identification, and finally class removal. Questions class or clarification about these steps? Class, are there questions so far? Okay, so if there's none, class, let's proceed to the next slide. So here comes now, class, the different generations of antivirus. So just like us with computers, computers undergo 5 generations. With antivirus class, we only have 4 generations of antivirus. Firstly is that we have, of course, the first generation antivirus. And its characteristic is that this type of antivirus class are signature-based scanner. So I mean to say, class, it tries to scan for signatures for viruses. So it has a scanner class which will scan the signatures class of the virus. So each virus created class has their own identity. Okay? Its identity class is what we call your virus signature. So in the first generation class of antivirus, it is able to identify the type of virus based on their signature. So hence, class, there is a need to frequently update our antivirus definition so that our database signatures for viruses are always updated. So again, class, every virus in the first generation of antivirus software, each virus class has their own virus signature. And in the first generation of antivirus software, it just scans these signatures of viruses. And then after scanning, class, the virus signature, it will then match the virus signature detected against the database of virus signature in that specific software. And then if a match class is found, if nag-match class ang virus signature and the signature po nga nasa database, so that's a time that the antivirus software can now detect the presence of virus because na may nag-match na virus as compared to your virus signature nga database. So that's your first generation antivirus. It just makes use class of virus signature to identify and detect viruses. Then after class, the first generation of antivirus, here comes your second generation antivirus software. So if your first generation class is signature-based scanner, your second generation class of antivirus software, they are what we call class your heuristics-based scanner. Okay? Heuristics-based scanner. So what do you think, class, are the characteristics of your second generation antivirus software? Anybody? Why are they called class heuristics-based scanner? Any idea, class? What's your idea about your heuristics-based scanners? So again, ang first generation class, gamit siya og virus signature. How about the second generation? What does it use to detect viruses? So with a second generation antivirus software class, it makes use of rules. So muna gitawag og heuristics. The rules of viruses. Wherein, for example, class, it sets class, yes, your heuristics-based scanners do not depend on signatures, because if those viruses class or those antivirus which are based on signature, they are known as first generation. How about your second generation antivirus software? So again, class, with heuristics-based scanner, what they do is that it tries class to understand the limits. It sets rules when to classify this software as malicious software and when to classify that this software is not malicious. So we have, you are going to create your rules. You are going to identify class the behavior class of a software, whether this software behaves abnormally or the behavior class of this software is still acceptable. For example, if this software class is now trying to access your hard disk and is trying to modify and remove some files, mean to say that this software is considered as malicious, because accessing files and removing contents from your hard disk is no longer acceptable. So it tries to understand class the characteristics, or it tries to understand class the behavior of a specific software before it can be identified as a virus. If it tries class to change the characteristics or the file attributes, it can be classified as a virus. That's your second generation. So again, class, ang second generation antivirus software, they are based on certain rules, wherein the user is going to identify which action is beyond a normal software would usually do. So that's your second generation antivirus software. Then after your second generation software is that we have class your third generation software. So again, from the second generation software of antivirus, it uses rules to search for probable virus infection. And then from the software search, it tries to look class for fragments of code that are associated with viruses. So we to say class, with this antivirus software, it tries to check class the contents of a file. For instance class, no, the contents of a file is already modified. Like for example, you have your Word document file, and then its content is now has been altered or modified such that some codes are inserted into this file, then it could be detected as a virus. So, mo ni siya ang imong second generation of antivirus software. It tries to check the file, and then after checking class the file, it will then detect whether this file is malicious or not. So one thing class that it could identify that this file is already infected with a virus is that it will do integrity checking. So ang integrity checking class, simply stated, it will just check whether the file content has been altered or the file is still in its original format. So once alter class ang contents of file, like there are some codes inserted or code fragments which are inserted into your file, mean to say that this file could be a virus or could be a malicious software. And then for the third generation antivirus software, these are called class as memory resident programs. At the same time, this type of antivirus software, they are based on actions. So, like for example, class, if their action is now malicious, like for example, this software is now trying to alter the contents in your system files, it tries to delete system files from your PC, then this virus or this software is now classified as virus because its behavior is beyond what is a normal software would usually do. So that's your third generation type of antivirus software. It is based on action, or it is also based class on the behavior of a software before NIAM identify whether this software is malicious software or not. And then for the fourth generation of antiviruses, it uses class multiple techniques. Like ang fourth generation, it is now class a combination of the first, second, and third generation nga antivirus, where again it makes use of scanning, trap components, checksum for the second generation, and it uses class your encrypted hash function. So do you have questions, class, or clarifications about the generations class of antiviruses? So to recall, class, which generation of antivirus is based on multiple techniques to detect viruses? Class, which generation of computer uses multiple techniques to identify and detect viruses? That's your class. Are you still there? How about the others? Is it a fourth generation? Okay, so that's correct, class. That's the fourth generation of computer of antivirus. Which generation class of computers which generation of antivirus software is based on signature of viruses for this virus or for this software to identify and detect viruses? Which generation, class? That's your okay. The signature based antivirus software, these are known, class, as your first generation. So which generation class of antivirus software will identify and detect viruses based on their actions, and behavior? Okay, actions and behavior, class. Any software that would divert from what a normal software would usually do are classified as viruses. That's your third generation of antivirus software. How about, class, which generation of antivirus software would check for the integrity of a file, whether the file has been altered or some codes has been inserted to this file which makes it malicious? Okay, which generation class of antivirus which will do integrity checking using checksum and encrypted hash function? Okay, so that's your second generation of antivirus. So by the way, class, those checksum and hash function, they are basically used to check, class, whether the file has been altered or not. So say for example, again, if you have your Word document downloaded over the internet, one thing that we can do to check whether the file doesn't contain any malicious software is to do integrity checking. Like, we are going to embed some code in your Word document file, and then once we download that file to our PC and then check whether the code is still there and is not altered, mean to say the file is safe. And then, but then class, if the code is already changed or tampered, mean to say this file can be harmful from your computer because na-change man ang iyahang ang code nga atong gi-embed before downloading the file. So more like i-check nimo kung the code was still the same and unaltered. Once ma-change class ang code, mean to say this file is now altered and it's no longer safe for viewing. So that's the work class of hash function and checksum to check for integrity of our files. So far class, are there questions or clarification with regards to the 4 generations of antivirus software that we have? Class, are there questions or clarifications?
No, sir.
Now, from the generations club of antiviruses, we are going to move now to some advanced techniques for virus detection. So again class, it is very crucial that we are going to detect our viruses well, because this is the first method to remove the virus. It should be that the presence of a virus is detected. So morning siya, we have the 4 generations of antiviruses for virus detection, and we have also this class your advanced techniques. So one of these advanced techniques is we have what we call class your generic decryption. And here's the illustration class of a generic decryption. Okay, sorry. Wala na ko sa na-add ang illustration for generic decryption method. So in a generic decryption method class, the software is allowed to execute in a sandbox with a CPU emulator. What do we mean class by sandbox? So when we say class sandbox, yes, we have John Mary.
Controlled simulation.
Okay, so it is a controlled simulation. So mean to say class, we let the software run and execute in a controlled software, or in a controlled manner, or in a controlled situation, such that our physical computer will not be affected even though this virus is now started or has started executing. So mean to say class, giparaan ang software whether for us to identify whether this software is malicious or not. So we let the software run in a virtual machine, and then after running in the virtual machine, we tried to analyze class its behavior. Whether the behavior of the software is malicious or not, we check its signature, and then we control everything such that after running class the software, and then if there are no problems encountered, meaning to say this software is safe for execution, or otherwise this software is classified as malicious. Okay, so in that case class, the physical hardware that we have is safe from virus infection, because the virus doesn't really infect our physical computer, but rather it just infects a virtual machine or in a sandbox. So from here, from the generic decryption method, it still make use class of virus signature to scan viruses against the database of virus signatures. And then one advantage of generic decryption is that they are good for detecting polymorphic virus. So polymorphic class mean to say this type of viruses can change its virus signature from time to time. And then, as I have mentioned earlier, that one advantage of using this method is that the physical computer is not damaged because again, the software is run in a virtual machine such that our physical hardware is protected against the behavior of this software, whether it be malicious or not. But then the problem here with a generic decryption method is that since we created class a virtual machine for this software to run in a sandbox, it can degrade the performance of our physical hardware. Okay, so why do you think, class, it will degrade the physical performance of our machine when we use generic decryption method? Ano mo degrade man ka, class? Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Nga naman nga mo degrade ang performance sa physical hardware o sa physical machine if we use generic decryption method?
Degrade ka ng tungod kay nagamit og system resources, gamit og daghan system resources.
Okay, that's right. So, since we let our software class execute in a sandbox, so mean to say, we create class a new machine. Okay, so we create class a virtual machine running inside our computer. So with that case, with that instance, it also consumes class part of our computer resource. Like for example, its memory and CPU, as well as the storage of your physical computer. So with that instance, since ni-consume sa class of resources of your physical machine, in that case, it can degrade the performance of your physical computer. So that's one drawback, class, of generic decryption method. So but then, class, your software here is very safe from execution because your physical computer will not be harmed because this software is only run inside a virtual machine. So kung mag-infect siya dito, at least a virtual machine ra. And since this is just a virtual machine, anytime we can remove and delete this virtual machine if you want to. So that's one advantage po sa generic decryption. So far, class, questions or clarifications in a generic decryption method? Questions, class, or clarifications sa generic decryption method for virus detection?
No, sir.
Sabta na, class? Again, sa generic decryption, you let your software execute in a virtual machine and in an controlled manner. And then from there, once they started executing, the user is going to analyze its behavior of the software. At the same time, it will scan for any virus signature. And then once a match is found, then it can be detected that the virus is present in that sandbox. Or the other way around, if the behavior class of the software is beyond from what is normal, then the software could be detected as malicious. So that's your generic decryption. It makes use class of a sandbox to execute a software such that your physical computer is safe from the software which could be malicious. So aside, class, from generic decryption method, we also have your digital immune system. Okay? So in a digital immune system, class, we employ here a physical machine. So again, ang generic decryption, we are just using class virtual machine to run and execute this software. But with a digital immune system, we now make use, class, of an actual machine. So in a digital immune system, there is a centralized machine to handle virus encryption and prescription. So mura siya doctor na muhatag og tambal og reseta how to cure this virus for their patients. Okay? Yan na, class, ang concept sa digital immune system nga method. Na a doctor, which is a centralized machine, is going to prescribe methods on how to remove and how to prevent other computers in a network from virus infection with this type of virus. Muna gitawag siya og digital immune system. So yung ni class ang diagram of a digital immune system. Okay, so we have your So we have your class, your virus analysis machine. This is your centralized machine. So kung kuan pa ni class, kung real world situation pa ni, this is now our clinic. Okay? Where the doctor resides. So the doctor here is our centralized machine who is going to handle virus infection, and we should provide class prescription to other computers in a network such that these machines will not be infected with this type of virus. So with your, for instance, class, we have here one client machine which is infected with a virus. Okay? So say for example, this machine is infected with a virus. So what it will do is that it will send notification to the administrative machine. Okay? Kini siyang administrative machines class is just like a server, computer in a room or in an office. Once the report class has been received by your administrative machine that one of your computers here is infected with a virus, it will send again a report to the virus analysis machine. So this is your step, sequence 1, sequence 2. And then once ma-receive na siya sa virus analysis machine, it will analyze the behavior of a virus and its structure. Then after doing class virus analysis behavior and structure, it will extract the signature. So it's now class a combination of the first, second, and third generation class of antivirus. Yang analyze ang behavior and action, then it will extract the signature of a virus, and then after extracting class the signature, ma-identify na kung usa ni siya nga type of virus. And then from there, it can derive prescription. So prescription class means to say how to remove this virus and how to prevent other computers in the same network from being infected. So from here, once ma-derive nila class ang prescription, yan ang ibalik class sa administrative machine or from the server, and then it will forward the report to the infected machine on how to remove this specific virus. Once ma-receive na niya sa infected machine ang instruction on how to remove this virus, this machine now can now be virus free. Matantang na klase ang virus niya because na naman siya prescription on how to remove this virus. And then from there, once ma-receive na class sa infected machine, the work of your administrative machine is to send the same prescription to other machines in a network para class ma-prevent ang kining client machines from virus infection. So it will then cascade the prescription to other machines in your network, so that these computers can no longer be infected with the same type of virus. And not only that, your virtual analysis machine will also forward the same prescription to other computers in different networks. So that's your digital immune system as an advanced technique for virus detection. Questions, class, or clarification about your digital immune system? Class, questions or clarifications?
None, sir.
Nasabtan ra?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's the advanced technique. That's another advanced technique aside class from generic decryption method. Then from from this method, we now move class to behavior blocking software. So with the behavior blocking software, still class, the software or program is run and analyzed in a sandbox. Okay, or sandbox class, or in a controlled manner, or probably class, we are using here virtual machine to analyze the behavior of a code. So this is how your behavior blocking software looks like. Yan diagram. So we have here, okay, so we have here an administrator in which your administrator class identifying there is the presence class of a virus in his computer. So, or a software. Na siya bago nga software nga i-download. And then, before niya i-install class ang software nga iyang i-download, yan na siyang i-execute sa server, which will run a behavior blocking software. So, ang difference class between a generic decryption and behavior blocking software, for our class kaya murag nagpang akong kuan monitor.